Something that should have been one of the happiest moments for the Indiana Fever turned into the exact opposite. Imagine this, your team finally breaks through with a hard-fought playoff win, the kind of victory fans have been waiting years to celebrate. The energy is electric, the crowd is on its feet, and every headline should be about the big plays that sealed the game. But instead of the spotlight staying on Lexie Hull's game-saving steal or Aaliyah Boston's rock-solid performance, the cameras shifted to something no one expected. Sophie Cunningham, standing at midcourt in a bulky leg brace, being confronted by a league security guard. What should have been joy suddenly turned into tension. And here's the kicker. This wasn't just about one guard making a mistake. The moment raised a bigger question that fans couldn't stop asking. Was Sophie Cunningham unfairly singled out? Or was this confrontation part of a larger pattern we've been seeing for years inside the WNBA? That single clip, Sophie standing her ground against an overzealous official, became the spark for a firestorm that spread way beyond the court. The Indiana Fever's playoff win should have been the story of the night. For a team that's been doubted for years, this was a breakthrough that fans had been waiting for. The crowd inside the arena was electric, every possession carrying the weight of history. Aaliyah Boston anchored the team with her calm, steady dominance in the paint. Kelsey Mitchell rose to the moment, hitting clutch shots under immense pressure, and then came Lexie Hull's game-sealing steal, the play that sent fans into a frenzy. It was the perfect picture of resilience, a short-handed roster refusing to fold and proving they belonged on the postseason stage. This was supposed to be about hard work finally paying off, a story of perseverance and grit. But even as the Fever's players celebrated, the spotlight started to drift. What should have been pure joy was suddenly overshadowed by something entirely different, an incident that unfolded right at midcourt, stealing attention from the game itself. Sophie Cunningham wasn't even dressed to play. She stood at midcourt in a bulky leg brace, clearly injured, clearly limited, and simply there to support her teammates after the hard-fought win. Nothing about her presence suggested chaos. Yet somehow, a league security guard decided she was a problem. Instead of recognizing the moment for what it was, an injured player celebrating with her team, he stepped in aggressively, barking orders as if Sophie had rushed the floor in the middle of a brawl. Cameras caught every second. Sophie, confused at first, then annoyed, before locking eyes with the guard in a defiant glare that fans instantly recognized. She didn't back down, but she didn't escalate either. She simply refused to move, making it clear she wasn't about to be bullied in a moment that belonged to her team. That single stare said everything. Really? This is what you're doing right now? What should have been nothing turned into a confrontation that lit the spark for a much larger controversy. The moment didn't stay inside the arena for long. Within minutes, clips of Sophie's stare-down flooded social media, spreading across Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Fans weren't confused about what they saw, they were furious. The outrage wasn't directed at Sophie, but at the way she was treated, as if an injured player supporting her team was somehow a threat. Hashtags like Free Sophie and WNBA Exposed began trending as thousands of comments poured in, calling the confrontation unnecessary and humiliating. Fans pointed out the absurdity of the situation. Sophie in a leg brace, barely able to move, being leaned on by a guard acting like she had stormed the court. The viral clip became bigger than the playoff win itself, dominating the conversation and drowning out what should have been headlines about resilience and teamwork. Instead of celebrating victory, the story was now about conflict, and that shift struck a nerve with fans everywhere. As the clip circulated, fans quickly noticed something deeper. Why was Sophie treated like a villain for doing what other players are often praised for? When Angel Reese storms the court, commentators call it passion. When Paige Bueckers shows fire, it's labeled leadership. But when Sophie Cunningham does the exact same thing, while injured, no less, suddenly it's a problem. That inconsistency didn't sit well with viewers. Social media filled with comparisons, pointing out the selective enforcement and the league's history of protecting certain players while targeting others. The narrative became clear. Sophie wasn't just being scolded by a security guard, she was being singled out. And for many, this wasn't an isolated mistake, but part of a long-running double standard that has followed Sophie throughout her career. The confrontation wasn't about rules. It was about image, control, and who the league chooses to embrace versus who they'd rather paint as an outsider. To understand why this moment exploded, you have to look at Sophie Cunningham's reputation. From the start of her career, she's been cast as the WNBA's agitator, the player who refuses to smile politely and fit into the league's carefully curated image. She's outspoken, unapologetic, and fiery, the kind of personality that divides fans but always keeps people watching. Rival fan bases love to paint her as the villain, while her supporters see her as refreshingly real. And that's exactly why she trends so often, because she doesn't soften her edges for anyone. Sophie has built a following by being herself, by clapping back at critics, and by embracing the role of the disruptor. But with that authenticity comes pushback, not just from opponents, but from the league itself. Time and time again, she's been treated differently, her actions scrutinized more harshly than others. That history is what turned this small confrontation into something much bigger. It fit a pattern fans already knew too well. The confrontation with Sophie wasn't just an isolated blunder, it tapped into a much larger issue fans have been pointing out for years. The WNBA has struggled to handle its stars, especially the ones who don't neatly fit the image the league wants to project. Caitlin Clark has been hammered with hard fouls all season, shoved and hacked while referees swallow their whistles. Lexie Hull, despite her clutch playoff heroics, barely gets coverage from official league channels. And now Sophie Cunningham, injured and celebrating a win, gets treated like a threat on her own court. To fans, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Selective protection, selective outrage, and selective promotion. The league says it wants growth, respect, and mainstream attention, but when its biggest moments are overshadowed by clips of mistreated players, the credibility takes a direct hit. Instead of celebrating resilience, the WNBA looks distracted by drama of its own making. When the dust settled, fans expected the league or major outlets to step in and address what happened. But the response was telling: silence. The official WNBA accounts didn't acknowledge the confrontation, and mainstream sports media gave it little more than a passing mention, if at all. Instead, it was the fans and independent voices online who carried the conversation, dissecting the footage, replaying the stare-down, and demanding answers. The contrast was sharp. When certain players show emotion, highlight reels and glowing articles follow within hours. But with Sophie, the cameras caught the tension, yet the narrative was buried, almost as if ignoring it would make it disappear. That selective coverage fueled the fire even more. Fans saw it as proof that the league and its partners weren't just mishandling the moment, they were actively downplaying it. And in an era where every clip can go viral, that silence spoke louder than any official statement ever could. In the end, what should have been a night of celebration turned into a mirror reflecting the WNBA's deeper issues. Sophie Cunningham didn't pick this fight. She stood with her team in a brace, proud of their win, but the way she was treated exposed cracks the league can no longer ignore. Fans saw it, fans amplified it, and now fans are demanding change. Consistent protection for players, equal recognition across the board, and accountability when officials or staff cross the line. The viral moment became more than just Sophie's stare. It became a symbol of frustration with the league's double standards and its reluctance to embrace all its players equally. Whether the WNBA listens or not remains to be seen, but the message is already loud and clear. Players deserve respect, no matter their role, their reputation, or the image they project. Until that happens, moments like this won't just fade away, they'll define the league's narrative.